Hi, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Today we are going to present which is topic tax administration for individual in Malaysia. So this is our group, me, Alissa Maisarah, Amirah Khairani, Fatin Nabilah, Hamizah and Humaira. Now I will explain about the problem that Mr. Ahmad faced. The main problem in this scenario is that Mr. Ahmad, a high income earner, is not paying the tax that he is obligated to pay. Mr. Ahmad has not diligently declared all his income to LHDN. Due to his non-compliance, he was fined for tax evasion. Now that he had been fined, Mr. Ahmad wanted to know everything regarding his tax obligations and requested a step-by-step explanation of the procedures to comply with the system to avoid penalties in the future.
In Malaysia, taxpayer has specific responsibility outlined by HDN. One of them is accurate reporting of income. In this case, Mr. Ahmad must accurately report all his income earned during the tax year. This includes income for employment, business or trade, investment rental, properties, royalties and any other sources of income. Aside from that, taxpayers are also obligated to file their tax return. Mr. Ahmad is required to file his tax return, which is Form B, annually with HDN. This tax return must be submitted by the deadline specified by HDN, usually on or before 30 April of the following year. Next, Mr. Ahmad must ensure to pay his taxes promptly according to his income evolution. Aside of that, Mr. Ahmad is responsible for maintaining accurate record and supporting documents related to his income, expenses, deduction and tax affair. Mr. Ahmad must comply with all provisions of the Malaysian Income Tax Act 1967. This includes adhering to deadline for filing tax returns, reporting income truthfully and disclosing all taxable transactions. Other than that, Mr. Ahmad must respond to any notice, inquiries or audit conducted by HDN promptly and provide accurate information as required. Besides that, he must inform LHDN about any changes in personal information such as address, marital status or contact information that may affect their tax obligation or entitlement to tax relief. Mr. Ahmad can amend his tax return within 6 months from the date of submission to the IRB, but he can only amend his return once. It means that he can only amend his tax once a year for one amended. Under SAS, Mr. Ahmad should assume the primary responsibility for determining his tax liability, calculating tax owed, and submitting accurate tax return to HDN. Next, self-assessment system. The Inland Revenue IR is responsible to make the assessment and calculate the tax based on the income tax form submitted by a taxpayer. Theoretically, in the self-assessment system, Mr. Ahmad must do the calculation of his own taxes. This system impacts significantly on him to comply with the taxation law. To understand self-assessment, Mr. Ahmad needs to see the underlying factor of the system.
As for return, Mr. Ahmad is required to fill in the Form B as he is a resident individual with other sources of income besides employment income. This form should be submitted on 30 June. After successfully submitting Form B, Mr. Ahmad should keep all the records for future reference. IRBM will determine the amount of tax payable by a taxpayer based on the information provided in their tax return. As for assessment, in this process, the IRBM will first check the return's accuracy. Then, they will enter the data to their system and assess it. Once done, they will communicate the results with the taxpayers. The taxpayers can then make his payment within the given time. Next, for amendment of tax return, the problem is, in Mr. Ahmad's situations, his immediate priority should be to address the 60,000 ringgit fine for the undeclared 200,000 ringgit income identified during the audit. The solution is, the Inland Revenue Board of Malaysia IRBM are allowing Mr. Ahmad to make amendments to correct mistakes in his submitted tax returns by filing an ARF within 6 months from the date of submission. Step 1 is by using the amended return form ARF to correct errors in income tax return form ITRF. Next step is by making the detail of the corrections and ensuring that all adjustments is clearly documented. Before submitting the form, any relevant documents that support the amendments, such as bank statements, property transactions, and receipts are needed.
The offences and penalties under Section 115, liability for paid tax before leaving Malaysia, and under Section 112, Subsection 1, failure to furnish a return for a year assessment and failure to give notice of chargeability to tax. Since Mr. Ahmad has violated this section, he may be fined an amount ranging from RM200 to RM200,000. Not just that, he may face imprisonment not exceeding 6 months or both. Next, the appeals. Mr. Ahmad was fined RM16,000 of tax evasion based on the findings from a desk auditor file audit. However, according to Section 91 Subsection 1, Mr. Ahmad retains the right to appeal if he dissatisfied with the decision by request that an unfavorable ruling be reviewed. The solution. To appeal the SCIT, Mr. Ahmad must file the Form Q. In this form, he must clearly state the grounds on which he is appealing the tax assessment. The requirement of the form details grounds of appeal, reason of disagreement, issued to be trial, date and amount of tax payable, as states in notice of assessment, and lastly, signature by taxpayer or authorized person, cannot be tax agent or a lawyer.
As a result of this task, we have gained a great deal of knowledge. We have learned that taxes are very important for everyone to understand their responsibility as a taxpayer to prevent tax increases and avoid having to pay a lot of money down the line. Taxpayers also should hold on to all the receipts and certified to show to the IRB officer. This can also help them with self-assessment and figuring out their tax on their own. Knowing the payment due date is crucial to avoid fines and penalties for the late payments. If a taxpayer gets hit by a penalty, the taxpayer can appeal it and try to get it reduced. It is also our responsibility as a Malaysian citizen to understand and fulfill our tax payment obligation. We hope that we will do better in the future since we are in the process of learning. That's all from us. Thank you for watching. See you guys later.